what's up out there, everybody? Thank you as always for stopping by the channel. I hope you're doing well. Today we're talking about the 1984 classic, The Karate Kid. It's an iconic piece of 80s cinema. I think it still holds up as a quality viewing all these years later. This movie as a whole, I think, does so many things right, but I've narrowed it down to 5 specific things that I think make this movie great, so let's get into them. First up at number 5 would easily have to just be the music and the scoring.
In the street light, you under fire. Something's just been coming out of nowhere. Your hearts beat fast.
Now, I could be speaking out of just nostalgic bias, but I don't think there was a better decade for movie soundtracks than the 1980s. During the decade, I think music had a major impact on a film and at times would be even bigger than the movie itself. The musical scoring aspect of a film is much different, but when it came to catchy soundtracks that captured the mood, the 80s was just filled with them. So many songs from the era I think can immediately bring back memories of a movie, and The Karate Kid, in terms of its soundtrack and its musical score as well, was no exception. The great Bill Conti came in and worked on the music for The Karate Kid. Among many movies on his resume at the time were the first 3 Rocky films. He would proceed to work on the next 2 Karate Kid sequels, and I think the atmosphere he created with his work on this movie was just perfect for the tone of the story overall. Conti, with his music, was able to heighten the intensity of the showdowns between the characters. He was able to elevate the emotional impact of the more sincere moments between Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi, and he was able to just really capture that energy and attitude of the 80s with his infusion of pop music that was, I think, melodramatic in all the awesome ways you want it to be. There's just a string of great 80s hits in this soundtrack, among the notable ones being Young Hearts by Commuter, The Moment of Truth by Survivor, Two to Tango by Paul Davis, Cruel Summer from Bananarama, and the song that I think is the theme to this movie, You're the Best from Bill Conti, performed by Joe Esposito, which to this day is a great song to have on your workout playlist, and overall, I feel this element of the movie is something that locks it in its time and leaves a major imprint on the film overall. The next thing I selected would certainly be Daniel LaRusso's coming-of-age story.
Damn bike, I hate this bike. I hate this place. I hate it. I just want to go home. Why can't we just go back home?
Admittedly, the story arc for Daniel LaRusso is a little formulaic in places. He's a kid from Jersey who lost his father. He and his mother move out to Reseda, California, and he's immediately an outsider. He also takes a liking to a rich girl at school who has an equally rich boyfriend, and from there, a love triangle is born. LaRusso also meets a mentor/father figure. From there, they form a tight bond with one another, resulting in the growth of our main character. It's a pretty cut and dry story arc, but the outside elements that were layered onto this story structure are what made it that plotline that myself and many other kids my age at the time were able to connect with on about as spiritual of a level as you could for a 7-year-old. I mean, I wanted to be the Karate Kid. I constantly practiced my crane kick. I wanted Mr. Miyagi to be my sensei, and I was ready for all the Johnny Lawrences that the world would throw at me. But like I said, all these pieces in this story really work to make it a complete saga of growth that, despite feeling dated, doesn't feel outdated. Ralph Macchio is fantastic as LaRusso. There's a natural charm in his performance. He captures both moments of self-assuredness, but also tons of self-doubt and naivete. So in other words, he just feels like a normal kid that's going through phases and wanting to learn. And Mr. Miyagi was the perfect teacher for him, with Morita delivering a fantastic performance. I mean, this guy is the real-life embodiment of Yoda. He was so good in this movie, he was actually nominated for a Best Actor in a supporting role. So the story had 2 great leads to center itself on. It also had a great multi-headed villain with the Cobra Kai as a team themselves, as well as Johnny Lawrence being that lone rival for LaRusso. And every 80s coming-of-age story needs a love interest, and Elizabeth Shue was great in the role. She had a lot of charisma, she was a strong personality, but kind of delivered in a rich kid package, and I think she had a cute charm with Machio. So I think to me, just all of these pieces added together with a nice story pace, the perfect amount of subplot layering, and the karate element equal a coming-of-age story that you can really watch so many times over and still enjoy it. Next up at number 3, I would have to say just Daniel LaRusso's training. Seeing Miyagi's unconventional methods really served a dual purpose of delivering some heartfelt comical moments between the characters, but also showcasing the growth of LaRusso as the Karate Kid. I mean, watching LaRusso learn wax on, wax off, and paint the fence, and paint the house, and sand the floor, in addition to the concept of balance, is what the Karate Kid is all about, and all these sequences today are some of the most iconic moments in the movie. The entire story concept is just naturally comical as Daniel doesn't see where his training is going. He feels like he's just a grunt for house chores and not at all like a student learning karate, and Morita plays it perfectly. He shows no break in his stern, emotionless role as a sensei, and Daniel just doesn't know what to make of it, and it's just entertaining to see his frustration grow. It's just a great teacher-student dynamic for many reasons, and then finally getting to see it all coming together, learning there was a method to Miyagi's training, just creates that just sincere, triumphant excitement. I think that's what makes this such a memorable movie. It creates that confidence inside of LaRusso, and it does result in an unmentioned appreciation between them that really does kind of hit the heartstrings a little bit. Next up at number 2, I had to put the Cobra Kai. Now to me, this movie, and really any other movie, is only as good as its villain, and the menacing Cobra Kai was perfect for this film. Like I mentioned, it was a multi-headed villain to match up against LaRusso, and Miyagi as well to a sense. I mean, the Cobra Kai, they showed no mercy on the mat or out in the streets, as LaRusso has a lot of run-ins with them where he is just constantly outnumbered. Johnny Lawrence was capable, confident, he was relentless, showed no fear for LaRusso, and William Zabka played him with just the right amount of rage. Lawrence was the hurdle for LaRusso, however, Lawrence wasn't alone. The Cobra Kai leader, Kreese, played with the perfect amount of subtle intimidation by Martin Kove, was the head of the snake, and he really was that catalyst for each of these guys in the crew. Kreese was absolutely merciless. He was almost dead behind the eyes. He was the counter opposite of Miyagi and what he stood for. Kreese trained his students to do what it took to win. It created that real fear that LaRusso might not make it out. It really results in two kids, LaRusso and Lawrence, coming at one another from really each end of the moral spectrum, which to me was the perfect recipe for just that climactic good versus bad showdown at the All Valley Karate Championship.
No mercy! Finish him!
And finally, at number 1, I would say the greatest thing about this movie would be just Miyagi and LaRusso's friendship.
Always look I.
Now, if you strip everything away from this movie except for the performances and the chemistry between Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita as Miyagi and Daniel LaRusso, and you still have a very emotionally compelling friendship to watch evolve. LaRusso is missing his father and that guidance, and Miyagi really steps in at the most important time in his life. And as for Miyagi, he's a bit of a mystery at first, and then you eventually learn about the loss that he dealt with in the past. It captures the heartbreak that he experienced, but it also kind of shows that LaRusso may have came into his life at the right time as well to just fill that void that he had for not being able to mentor his son in karate. And as their friendship grows, it has its ups and downs like any would, and I think that's what makes it so appealing. LaRusso learns so much more than just karate from Miyagi. He learns about the morals of life, and about how to really live with a code of ethics, but it all really does flow through the karate for it to sink in with LaRusso, which was kind of the methodology in his training. I think the writing was sincere, it didn't force a lot of the drama, it plays out naturally with a nice flow to it. The scene where LaRusso learns of Miyagi's tragic history was so nicely staged, and that's just one of the many great moments this movie has between them. Between all the training, the life lessons, the conversations between the two of them, a true bond is formed that you can't help but connect with and love. Morita and Machio were an unlikely duo that certainly captured the hearts of movie geeks in the 80s, and with their timing together, I think they still go down as one of the all-time great on-screen duos, and I think that's a perfect closing to my ramblings on The Karate Kid, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. Share it with your friends, and without question, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can never miss a video. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. All my social media links and the link to our official website are down in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.